Welcome to this week's Dream Car judging video here at BOTB. We'd now like to hand over to today's lawyer from Onside Law who'll oversee the proceedings.
My name's Alex Bromley-Martin from Onside Law and I'll be overseeing the judging this morning. Firstly, I can confirm the competition data has already been sent to the auditing company Assets. I'd now like today's judges to introduce themselves and using the secure link provided, mark on the screen where they think the centre of the ball should be. The group will then come to a final panel decision.
Hi, my name is Kieran Fitzgibbon. I've played football for more than 30 years and I'm also a referee.
Good morning, my name's Andy Braithwaite and I'm a football referee, mentor and licensed observer.
Good morning, my name's Peter Giorgio and I am a futsal and football referee.
Hello, my name's Wendy Martin. I previously played for Tottenham Hotspur Ladies and currently play beach soccer for England and Team GB.
Good morning, my name's Leo Donnellan. I'm an ex-professional football player, having been with Chelsea, Fulham and Leyton Orient.
Hi, I'm Joe Thompson, ex-professional footballer and now your published author and MUTV presenter.
My name's Liam Walsh. I'm a retired referee, currently an FA observer and head coach for the Middlesex Referees Academy.
Hi, my name's Renee Hector and I'm a coach for Watford FC Women Development and I coach for Tottenham Hotspur Foundation.
Judges, please now come to a final panel decision. For your reference, the larger white cross is the calculated average of the 8 individual selections.
Good morning, judges. Thank you. I think in today's picture, I think I'm going to come to you, Andy, if I may. I'd like to get a referee's perspective on what's going on in this picture. So could you tell us what you think you're seeing here and why you placed your cross in that position?
Thanks, Kieran. Good morning, everyone. I feel that the ball has dropped in as we're looking at the picture, more sort of central is coming in from where we are into the two players there. They're both on the ground. The guy in white in front, I feel that he was trying to get to the ball first and has either stumbled or has been sort of held back by the guy in blue behind him. As you see, he's got his arms around him. But the guy in blue also feels that he can get to the ball, whether he's trying to pull the guy in white out of the way to get there first or just try and get in above him. But the guy in white, as I say, whether he's stumbled or whether he's trying to hold his ground to hold the guy off, I'm not too sure. My particular take on where I've placed my centre of the ball is because the guy in white in front, if you can just hover over his right eye, the other one is his right.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
I can see plenty of white under and around to the left as we're looking, or sorry, to the right as we're looking of his eye. So he's looking quite sharply. And of course, being a 2D picture, he's looking out in front of him, but also straight up. And then if we look at the guy in blue behind, there's white under both of his eyes. So he's obviously looking up. And again, with the slight angle of his head or the way that his eyes are pointed, again, he's looking straight out in front of him. So that's why I've matched my two eye lines with my cross there.
Okay. Thanks, Andy. And I'll just come to you next, Rennie, because you're right next to Andy. Are you seeing this the same, or have you got anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I feel like the ball is in the foreground. So it would almost be closer to us as we look at the picture. I believe the ball's moving from left to right, just because of the body shape and body position. To me, it looks like as the ball's travelling left to right, maybe the player in white is trying to sort of anticipate and run onto it, and the player in blue is sort of trying to challenge for it, trying to sort of pull the player in white back so that he gets there first. Obviously, we've got two sets of sort of very focused eyes. I didn't feel like the ball was too high, mainly the player in blue's sort of eyes and, his head's not tilted back. I felt like it was sort of just out in front of him. And as well, the player in white, I don't feel like he's obviously looking sort of backwards a bit, but I don't think he can look too far backwards, sort of, past his own head, if you like. So I think it's a ball that the player in white's trying to run onto, and the player in blue is just sort of trying to, be a bit physical to try and get there first, get his arms around him to potentially pull him back and try and eventually get in front. But yeah, like Andy said, the player in white, his eyes are looking quite sharply and quite steeply sort of back to where the ball's coming from. And I just cross-referenced the eyes, and that's where I felt was a comfortable position that they could both sort of get two eyes each on the ball.
Okay, thank you. And just to the right of those two is yours, Joe. Are you seeing this similarly?
Yeah, morning, Kieran. Yeah, just pretty much to add on to what Renee said, and Andy, to be fair. I do think, obviously, both players are on the ground using the sponsoring boards behind to make that call. I think the player in white is the favourite. I think, obviously, as we can see, there's been contact made. And I do think, like Renee said, the ball is coming from left to right. Maybe popped up and the player in white is trying to allow the ball to run across his body and getting his body in the way of the blue player. I did draw lines up from the player in white's eyes and the player in blue's. And that's where I chose my cross. I think the ball, for me, has to be low just from the expression of the player in white with his forehead and, an open mouth. And I think it's just running across his body.
Okay, thank you. I'll draw some lines in now just to show what we've got before I go on to the other judges. So from this layer here, we go up through a couple on the left there and Leo's at the top. And from his left eye, cross through Joe's, and then on the player in white, on the left through Liam's, and on the right through Joe's. Oh, we've got quite a spread, so I'm going to come to the top, excuse me, to the other extreme, to Leo. And can you tell me what you're seeing here and how you place your cross in that position?
Yeah, hi, Kieran. Yeah, no, I agree that I think the ball's travelling from left to right. I think it's also just very slightly in front of the player, so it's also in the foreground. I went quite high because I think the player in blue, for me, he's looking steeply. I think there's a lot of white underneath his eyes, and especially his right eye sort of tells me that he's looking steeply. I think the player in white, I agree that I think he's on the move trying to get to the ball. And I think he's kind of looking slightly behind him and steeply. We've got a good view of his right eye. But I also think he's looking steeply and he's just on the move, waiting for the ball to drop to try and get to it. I think he's very tightly marked and possibly getting fouled. But we've got a very good view of their eye lines, Kieran, so I went with that this morning.
Okay, thank you. And then we'll take the ones on the left-hand side here. So I'll come to you next, Liam, if I may. You're a little bit to the left of some of the judges. How are you seeing this?
Yes, thanks, and good morning. The scenarios that's been set pretty much agree with, I just think it's, we've had a few, but I just think it's one of those horrible bouncing second balls, as players like to call it, either in the defence or in midfield. You've got the two players competing for it. I think the blue is favourite. And I think the white is overbalanced. He's falling forward. So that's the scenario I set myself. And then, it's been mentioned, we've got two sets clear eye lines on through the centre of the ball, and that's what we're here to decide. I feel that the guy in the white shirt is looking very steeply. He's looking into his foreground though, but it's just the angle of his head. That's why I've gone a little bit to the left as you're looking, because I just felt that he's just turning. He's turning himself to look through the centre of the ball. And the guy in blue, I just feel that, he feels like it looks like he's got his brow, his furrow. So he's got height, as Leo just mentioned, there's white under his eyes. But for me, I feel that his body is leaning forward, and that's why I've not gone up as high. If you just hover on my cross, if you would please there, Kieran. Lovely. Yeah. I just feel that, it's perfect. That's where the scenario I've set myself, the evidence I've given, that's where the lines meet.
Okay, thank you. And Wendy, you're just close to where Liam is, just slightly above. Are you seeing this the same, or have you got anything else that you think?
I think quite similar to Liam. I've gone a little bit further over to the left as we're looking at the picture, because of the tilt in the player in white's head as well. It is sort of slightly twisted. There's a lot of white to the right of his eyes, so he's looking quite steeply, to his right, but left as we're looking at it. And I think sort of 4 good eyes from the players today. I do think the player in white is favourite to win the ball or get his sort of body in front of the ball, even though he's being fouled. Because I think the player in blue, he's looking at the ball, but he doesn't really seem as though he's trying to play it. He seems like his focus is actually on pulling the player in white back and stopping him from getting to the ball. He doesn't seem to me as though he's actually setting to play the ball, just try and prevent the white player getting to the ball. So I think for me, four good eyes, and I took a cross reference of the eyes today as well.
Thank you. Okay, and Peter, yours is the yellow cross there, just a little bit to the right. Do you see anything else in this picture?
I actually think the player in blue is favourite for the ball. Yes, he's preventing the player in white actually getting to the ball. He probably was initially favourite for the ball, but the way I think the blue player is pulling the left shoulder of the white player with his left arm or his fist. He's actually pulled him right out the way, and he's also using his right hand as well to manoeuvre him out the way so he can position himself to get possibly a header to the ball, or just basically preventing the player in white getting to the ball. So I think the ball is coming in from into the screen, dropping in rather than coming from left to right. And as alluded, there's 4 good, two sets of good eyes, I should say, and cross-referenced, and that's where I put my centre of the ball.
Thanks, Peter. And then I've just got my own, which is just above Peter's here. I say the ball, similar to Peter, I think the ball's coming in from us towards the 2 players. The player in white would be what I found difficult. If you look at his backside, if you like, it seems to be at right angles with his body. So I don't quite know whether he's in that position because he's being pushed by the player in blue. But again, the position of the arms of the player in blue make it look like he's pulling or holding him. So I'm not sure exactly how the player in white's got this position. It doesn't seem to be leaning towards the ball. So I'm not sure that either of them are actually going to play the ball. I think the player in blue seems to be preventing the player in white getting to the ball. But I think they're both looking at the ball. So I just took the eye lines today. I felt it was in the foreground in front of the player in white. Obviously, he can't look through his eyebrows, but I think he can see the ball. And I think the player in blue is looking at the ball as well. And I think this is a situation where I couldn't say either of them was favoured to get the ball. It could be that neither of them will get the ball, but in my opinion, I think, if anything, the player in blue is pushing the player in white to make sure he can stop him getting the ball. So that's why I placed my cross in that position. So if we look at the positions of all the crosses, if I put the ball over the magnifier, we've got quite a difference of opinion here. Let's try and get this accurately on top. We've obviously got Leo's quite a long way out to the top. And so I'm going to suggest that as lead judge that I remove Leo and then replace the average in this position, which then means that mine is popping outside a little bit, and to the bottom Joe's is just popping out a little bit as well. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to come through all of you, first of all, and see what you think about whether you're happy with me removing Leo's. I think Leo's is much further away than the rest of us from the rest of the judges. And then whether you think that possibly my own or Joe's or anybody else's should be removed. Okay, so I'll start with Andy. What do you think?
To be perfectly honest, I actually think that Leo's cross standalone is in a creditable position because, again, when something's in the foreground, it's extremely hard to tell how far it is from a 2D picture, up, down, sideways, whatever. So I actually feel that standalone is creditable. Having said that, as we've always do in the past, it is slightly too far away from the balance of the crowd. So you were right to remove it. But I do feel that yourself and Joe's counterbalance and the average where it is now is probably about right.
Okay, thank you. And I'll come to you next, Peter. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think with the removal of Leo's, I should say, with the cross where it is now at the moment, I think it's well balanced and as you've got it now.
Okay, you're happy with the position, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, and Wendy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like the average there. I think yours and Joe's are still sort of touching and on the edge of the ball, so I think they're close enough for me to stay and they balance each other out. So yeah, I'd keep it as it is.
Okay, thank you. And Leo, I'll ask you what you think. I know I've removed yours, but what do you think?
Yeah, I think by taking me out, it brings the average into the cluster, and I think it's very good where it is.
Thank you. Okay, and Joe?
Yeah, more than happy with the calculated average. You know, you obviously got to respect everyone's opinions and decisions to where they put the cross, and it was a credible position from Leo's, but I just think that looks a lot better, a lot tighter.
Okay, thank you. And Liam, what do you think?
Yeah, I can only. I think Andy stole my lines. Actually, I can only echo what he said. That Leo's I felt was very credible. His explanation was very credible, but when you sort of like remove him and then you put the magnifier there, the cluster is good, and the fact that yourself and Joe balance each other just on the peripheral of it, and I think 7. Hopefully that leaves 7 if my mathematics is good. Yes, 7 judges input this morning. I think that is very good. Yeah, and stays where it is for me. Thank you. And Renee, what do you think?
Yeah, I prefer the average much more where it is. Obviously, my cross was a little bit lower. And I'm happy to keep yours and Joe's in because I think you have to take into consideration the player in blue, his left eye, which in my opinion is not looking very steeply at all. So I sort of prefer those crosses over to the right anyway. So yeah, happy to have the average where it is.
Yeah, and I think this is a good position. I mean, I agree about Leo's position being credible. I thought, actually, I agree with him that it's more in the foreground. I think that's why it looks higher, but actually it's looking a bit more in the foreground. But I think we've got a good cluster here, and so I think we'll judge at the average. So after a lot of debate, we will judge at average.
Thank you. If you're all happy, then please click submit. Thank you, judges. The coordinates selected are X2490, Y1173. The coordinates will now be passed to the auditing company Assets to calculate the winner of the competition, and they will then inform BOTB. That concludes the judging process. Thank you.